It's summertime. What festivals are you going to? What happened to all the music festivals? Hey, I'm sitting out here for a little morning break outside the building where I work in downtown Austin, Texas. And I thought I'd tell a few funny stories about music festivals. The Cornerstone Music Festival was an amazing thing. I think it started off as a Friday, Saturday, Sunday event back in 1984 near Grace Lake, Illinois. And I think it eventually evolved into expanding to a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then one year, probably after the 2000 millennium started, Tooth and Nail approached the festival. Hey, what if we have a Tooth and Nail day where I get a bunch of my artists to come and play all day long? So that's how Cornerstone became to expand even more to Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, usually around the July 4th weekend. One time it was postponed due to the Creation Festival, which always had the weekend before July 4th, and they went ahead and scheduled their festival one year to be July 4th weekend, and so Cornerstone moved theirs because a lot of the artists were playing both festivals. You'd really have to coordinate hard to play on a Friday and transport yourself to Illinois from Pennsylvania to play on Saturday or whatever. But anyway, eventually a lot of people started coming on Tuesday to get there the day before the festival starts. I remember one year, I don't remember the year date, but there was like tornadic winds that tore through the Cornerstone Festival grounds. I think it took down the exhibit hall tent. It took down the HM Magazine stage tent. And there's a funny story I've told before about how the first night of the festival, which back then I think was Thursday, the Wedding Party was playing our last evening show there. And there was no tent, so they played in the open air. And they had like candles on stage and stuff. And it was just a beautiful, beautiful atmosphere and event, perfect for their style of music and their little bit of theatrical stage performance. And I remember Eric Clayton, who was working closely with Wedding Party, I think he might have produced their album. He approached me and said, "Hey, we're playing the show tonight, and I noticed you got the tent repaired and everything, and I know it's a lot of work to set it back up or tear it down, but we would really like to perform open air like the Wedding Party did last night. It was so beautiful, and it would just go so well." And I was like, "Well, sorry, I'm not even gonna talk to the festival about that because they worked really, really hard. And you know what it's like setting up an event when you're part of the facilities or the setup crew. Your underappreciated work goes unnoticed, and it's a lot of work before the festival starts. And then when the winds blow it down, you've got to roll up your sleeves and work late into the night and whatever to set up a tent again. You don't want to take that stealing off the tent or take the tent down for one performance. You know, Eric said, I got a crew of volunteers that'll help promise to set it back up. And I was like, there's no way. And I think it came down to, well, we're not going to play then. And I was like, I'm sorry you feel that way, but no way, dude. And fortunately, he relented because their performance that night was great under the rooftop of the tent. Another funny moment, right around the same area, the road that led from the main road into the Cornerstone Festival, like you kind of come in at the gate and you make a wide left turn, and then there's a T intersection. Off to your left before the intersection, you've got a bank of porta potties and telephones, the phone booths, and you've got Encore 1 and Encore 2. If you take a right at that T intersection, that road goes past a couple of tents. I think the Sanctuary tent was there, and the exhibit hall tent and the food court area and the gallery stage was over here off to the right. If you kept going, you went through like an RV camping area, and then it went down to a road that was on the side of the lake. And if you turn left, you could go to the main stage that way. But anyway, the vendors, were selling like snow cones and pizzas and Subway sandwiches, and they had a really cool tenderloin sandwiches, like a big old giant thin cooked steak that stuck way outside of the hamburger bun you ate it on. Those were delicious. That was one of my favorites. of the fest. But I started realizing that it was economical to actually rent an RV for the event. You'd have air conditioning on site, a place to shower and clean up and sleep in peace. You could shut the door and it kind of shut out some of the noise. Speaking of, one night I remember staying up late for all these evening encores, coming back home to the RV to go to sleep. And I was kind of walking and almost running back to the RV because I wanted to get inside my bed with the window open and hear Iona, who still had a few songs left in their evening encore set. They were playing by the gallery stage, so you could hear. And I made it, and I got to, go to sleep listening to Iona. It was such a wonderful sight. But anyway, right by the exhibit hall, which was to the right, which was a giant, long tent, the HM Magazine stage was to the left, and I parked my RV close by there, and ran out of water. An RV has a couple tanks. One is for gray water, one's for black water. Gray water is like shower water, and black water you can guess. But it also had a water storage tank, so you could wash your hands and drink if you wanted to out of there. And I politely asked one of the vendors, "Hey, can I borrow your hose to fill up the water in my RV tank?" And they said, "Sure, hurry up, So I took the hose underneath the exhibit hall tent from the food vendors, like a snow cone place, and hooked it up to my RV. And there was a guy who at the time was kind of perceived as a bad guy. I think he was a good guy, but because he was the head honcho at Frontline Music Group, or the name of their distribution company, they might have changed their name to something else. But anyway, Bill Conine was the head guy, so he took a lot of the heat from artists who felt like they weren't getting the royalties or getting paid right. And he came to me, he was parked next to me with his RV, and he says, "Hey, can I use that hose too?" And I said, "Yeah, I borrowed it from the snow cone vendor, just take it back to him, okay?" And so I leave, I'm done filling up my water, and lock my RV and go in the exhibit hall tent or whatever. And I find out later that the person who, at the snow cone booth, who lent me the hose wasn't the owner or the manager. And the manager came back, there was a crowd of people, a long line waiting to buy snow cones, and they were out of water. And so he asked his employees what happened, and he followed the hose to Bill Conine's RV, and he chewed him a new one, if you know what I mean, and just totally laid into Bill. And I kind of laugh about that, because you shouldn't laugh at the calamity of your enemies. And he wasn't my enemy, but even though he was perceived as an enemy by some of my artist friends, I just thought it was funny. And just as a friend, even you're good friends, you mock and give a hard time to your good friends when they go through tongue lashing like that. It is not fun at the moment for the person getting the tongue lashing, but for your friends, it's kind of funny. And so I wish I could have been a fly on the wall when he got chewed out by that vendor owner who had a long line of customers waiting to get snow cones, and they had no water. And so that was a funny story. I've probably run out of time to tell more stories, so I will let you go. And hey, get involved, join the discussion. We have at Sanctuary International Matrix, we've got Facebook pages, and you can make comments on these videos on YouTube. And watch my commercial for Rockstars on God, Volume 3. It's a wonderful book that's brand new, so I am hyping it and pushing it and selling it, and I'm not ashamed, and I'm really happy with that book. Talk to you later, and I hope you get to go see some music this summer. Went and saw a friend jam here in the Austin, Texas area last night. It was great.
Rockstars on God.